Good morning, my name is Adriana Angarita, and today we have a nice guest. She's Raquel Soley. Hello, Raquel, how are you?
Hi, very good. Happy to be here.
Okay, nice to meet you.
You too.
Today we have a guest. His name is João Gonçalves. He is a marine mammal observer from Portugal. So, hi, how are you? It's really nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm good. Unfortunately, I've been on an accident, and this is a great opportunity for me to talk about all the things about MMO and PAM and everything. Now that I have the time, now that I'm not sure.
That's great. What happened to you? Tell us.
Basically, on my off time, I did this long break of offshore. And on my off time, I was training for a freediving championship. I was cycling, and suddenly life shows me, hang on there, because there's an old lady that is going to hit you with a car, and you need to have some holidays. Yes. And that was it.
Oh my God. And how are your arms and your leg?
They're recovering. Just the right hand, it's not recovering as it's supposed to because there's some serious neurological damage. But we just need to adapt. That's about it.
Okay.
And keep positive, no matter what.
Yeah, that's the attitude. Tell us a little bit about you, Raquel.
Okay, then here we go. My name is Raquel Soley, and I'm a marine biologist, and I specialized in oceanography in a master's in Barcelona, and then another master's specifically in marine mammal science in the University of St Andrews in Scotland. And that is mainly my background.
How many years of experience do you have as a marine mammal observer?
It depends on how do you count those years, because I've been working with marine mammals or like doing activities with marine mammals since 2006, which makes it already 17 years almost. Okay. But then for the industry, I started in 2015, which makes it this month 8 years going offshore to do marine mammal observation for offshore activities.
Okay, but when you say for the industry, it means that you did research for an university or?
Yeah, I did a little bit of everything. I started with whale watching, then I went to research, and then became a marine mammal observer for the industry. When we talk about marine mammal observers, it's mainly for cetacean surveys, for research, or for offshore activities. Whale watching, I don't know if it falls into that category, because although you observe mammals, it's not like you are recording all the data that you see. It's just taking people out in the ocean and see the animals. However, it's very good that whale watching companies are collaborating a lot with research organizations or NGOs or even universities to carry some research while they are doing their activity, and that's really good. And I think it's a lot of data that we can take from those activities and get to know the animals a little bit better. So that's really good.
How do they help you?
There's a lot of different things that they could do. In my case, for example, when I was in the University of the Azores, when I was collaborating with the whale watching companies, I took pictures of the fins of the dolphins that the resident species that we had there to do photo identification. And we did that for dolphin species and for whale species. So all the pictures that we were collecting on board from my camera or from people that were on board as well, we would collect those to do photo ID. And now it's a big project that I'm not related to it now, but it's been like really successful, and they managed to match individual animals from the Azores to Madeira Island, and this way we know that these animals are traveling a lot between islands in the Atlantic. So that was a nice outcome from that research.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
João, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, basically, I'm a marine biologist by education, and I also did oceanography engineering. But that was my first course, and then I decided that sitting in a desk, it was not for me, so I moved on to marine biology. And a few years, I started to work in the whale watching industry, basically. Like basically the normal and the path that many of us take. And then I ingressed into the offshore industry, to the marine mammal observer and passive acoustic monitoring operator.
Could you tell us what is the difference? I know you are a marine mammal observer and also a passive acoustic monitoring operator. What are the differences between the two?
So marine mammal observers, they use basically their eyes. They have to spot the animals while they are on the vessels or from land, if that's the case. And the main job is to search for the animals. You have to scan all the ocean trying to find the animals. For the passive acoustic monitoring operators, what we do is that we deploy hydrophones in the water while the vessels are moving, when we are working for the industry mainly, and we record all that is going on in real time. So if there's a dolphin around that might be vocalizing, there's a chance that we can hear that animal. Sometimes in different kinds of research studies, or even for the industry as well, there's hydrophones that are static, meaning that they don't move. They are like in a buoy or something, and we record, and then we try to find those signals in a post-processing procedure. I think that's the main difference. So one uses the vision, and the other one uses all the hearing capabilities that we have.
Have you worked with different kind of hydrophones?
I work with a couple of different ones. So we have the arrays. You have different hydrophones, up to 4, in order to try to triangulate the noise, get a distance to the animal. And those are usually in one single cable, let's say. The other ones that are static is just like a big black box, like in the airplanes. You leave it over there, it records everything, and then you retrieve it. But I didn't use those that much. I work mostly with the ones that are towed behind the vessel.
And do you have something like that helps you identify which animal is vocalizing?
The noises that dolphins do or whales do is very different. They have like different frequency ranges. However, you need to have a lot of practice to identify between different species. Like, it's kind of easy to identify a sperm whale, for example, because it has a very loud noise that goes like this. And then you have different kind of dolphins that make whistles. And whales, they do like very, very low frequency noises. So with these 3 ones, you can pretty much know the group of animals that you're listening to. But you need to have a lot of practice to identify between different species. And for me, it's really complicated because I'm more of a visual person. So although I recognize some species, it's usually like researchers that know exactly which species are they listening to, because many species have overlapping frequencies, and yeah, they have different patterns, and you can study those patterns and maybe have an idea of what they are, but I don't know, I think it's really complicated unless they do something that is very specific from that species. I find it really difficult to identify species of dolphins. That's a nightmare.
So what I understand is that you have those hydrophone arrays,
Yeah.
and they're probably connected to something, that to headphones that you can hear, but maybe you don't have a software or something that helps you to identify the animals. Or
Yeah. We do have this program is called PAM Guard. That is the one that we use on the big vessels, and you have the real-time sound that you're listening behind the vessel, and then there's some options where you can put the characteristics of the species, for example, like frequencies or like interclick intervals that are like the time between 2 clicks, and it can kind of automatize a little bit the detections, but it's a lot of work and post-processing to later know what they are, because when you are working offshore, for example, you need to be quick. You can't lose a lot of time thinking what species it is or what's around. You know that there's an animal there, and in places where you have shutdowns, for example, you need to be quick. You just need to know, estimate a distance, see if it's around the vessel and if it's in a potential harmful area for that animal, and that's it. Later you can say, well, I guess that this animal could be a group of bottlenose dolphins or anything else, but is that usually you have to be very quick, just identifying that there's an animal over there, and then stop or not the operation.
there is something that is new for me. What is a shutdown?
Oh, so yeah, for offshore operations that make noise, such as seismic or sometimes geotechnical or geophysical activities, some countries have guidelines that regulates that noise to mitigate the potential impacts on the marine mammals. So you have the sound emitting from the gun or for whatever device that they have in the water. You have an area around it where if animals are found inside, all the activities should stop, and that's a shutdown. Okay. Then there are, well, distances vary between countries and depending on the type of animal that it is, but mainly is that you have an area, and if those animals, a whale, for example, is inside that area, you have to stop all the activities. So the geologists or the people from the vessel should stop.
I was surprised because I thought it would be nice to have a software so potent that at the same time tells you, okay, this is the animal. Maybe, I don't know, it has babies.
Yeah, there are improvements. There are big improvements, and this software is open source, so anyone can play around with it. It's helpful, but at the same time, is that I think that's my own personal opinion, is because there are so many different species and so much of overlapping between them that it's really difficult to know between like two small delphinids, such as common dolphins or striped dolphins. You know, so it's very different. It's very complicated to know exactly which one is it. Sometimes what I've seen back from research is that, as an example, striped dolphins from the Mediterranean vocalize a lot more than the ones that we found in the Azores.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, it's the same species, but they behave differently. So it's kind of like, well, they are there, but maybe they are not vocalizing or not vocalizing as much, or maybe their pitch is a little bit higher, and on the other hand, in the Mediterranean, they chat a lot. These animals like vocalize so much, and that is the same species. So you would say only by hearing them that maybe they are different species, and it's not. It's the same, just two different populations that have different types of communication.
Okay. Well, it's very interesting. I presume maybe with artificial intelligence right now, because they're recognizing the voice of humans, and we also have like a lot of pronunciations and tons of voices. Yeah. Maybe something like that happens. I don't know. Maybe in the Mediterranean the weather is better and they talk more.
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's in this scene with artificial intelligence and machine learning improving so fast, I think it could be a really good help, really good, at least for the people that we are offshore, because although we have practice, we are not researchers in the strict sense of the word. Like, we are not publishing this usually in academic journals or like treating it in a way that the university treats it. This data is more like, okay, we have an animal here, but we don't know what it is. When for research, for universities, they need to know exactly the species that it is. So there's a lot more effort put in identifying those types of whistles and those frequencies and those amplitudes that they do. So yeah, it's a bit different.
From your point of view, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding thing that I can have in this job is actually people listening to us, listening to the background that we have, to the experience that we have, and to the advice that we can give, because many people don't listen to us in this industry, and they should be more open to what we have to say, basically. And when they listen to us, it's like amazing feeling that everybody's working together and we achieve nice results for the environment and for the industry as well.
We have gym. Many times you have your own cabin, so you can just put I don't know, TV show or a movie, relax. And usually there's also I don't know, like a common place where you can socialize a little bit, and it's not that bad, but it's kind of a confinement at the end. And my friends and my family, they still don't understand how I enjoy doing this, because during the confinement for the pandemic, people were struggling so much because they couldn't move, they couldn't go out. And we're doing that voluntarily because we like it. So you have to be a little bit, like cuckoo, because sometimes it's difficult, but you learn to live with that. And for me, the fun part of this job, besides like the actual job that I like it, I really enjoy searching for marine mammals. It's when you have your team that it's like you have a connection with them. I made friends with my teams many times, and I enjoy meeting new people, and is that some of my best friends are offshore observers as well. And I don't know, I had some of my rotations, some of my jobs, they were so extremely fun. Like, you have a lot of fun while working, and you can be doing your job very professionally, but I like to laugh, so I'm joking all the time. And when it's not your team, it's with the marine crew or with the captain, if that person is more prone to socializing, because sometimes you have people that don't want to hear anything when you're on the bridge. But yeah, I don't know, I like to talk with them, see how they see us, or ask them. These people spend a lot of time at sea. Maybe they have seen things that you haven't seen, or they can help you sometimes. So that's another very fun part of it, because is that you get to talk, and I talk a lot. So yeah, it's really nice. I think it's really nice to, when you have a good team and good marine crew around, that you can ask them. So yeah, I would definitely say that that's people. People is what make it fun.
Could you tell us about one or two of stories of challenges that you had when you were a marine mammal observer and a PAM operator?
I have loads of stories, but there's some that I truly remember. One was actually working as a PAM operator inside of a container of toilet paper.
What?
Yes, that was challenging. That was a challenge. That was on a Russian boat, and I arrived there, and okay, where should I set up my gear? And they guided me outside to a container. I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to work with. I opened the door, and it was just full of toilet paper. It was good. I couldn't complain because we were very comfortable. We just needed to set it up in a nice way for you to work with. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's like you have to work with what you have, basically. We never have, rarely, let's say in the last years I've been having, and other people have been having the good conditions to work and nice setups and everything. But before, many years ago, it was not the case, and you had to do the best you could with the things that you had at that time. Whether it was gear, the setup that the company provided you, or the conditions that you were going to work in. So exactly, that was a funny story, so to speak, because it's all about health and safety these days, and what else could go wrong with the electronic gear and toilet paper that's very flammable.
Oh my God, yeah.
When you are on a vessel, usually, I'm going to put that usually, shifts are, or rotations are 4 weeks, but then they can extend, or maybe you want to extend it. And in my case, for example, my maximum time on board was 3 months, like without even setting my foot on land. And sometimes we were docked, but that was during the pandemic, so we were not allowed to go outside. But yeah, it's a lot of time that you have to spend on the vessel, and I reckon it's not made for everyone. I don't know. There's people that enjoys having their job and then off you go. You're at home, or if you had a bad day, you can go and have a beer with your friends, disconnect from the job. While you are on the vessel, you are living there exactly with the same people, and if you have any problem, you have to deal with that. And I think that requires a lot of mental strength and like a lot of introspection. Like, how am I going to deal with this? You don't have free time like you have when you're working in an office, for example. Your shifts are 12 hours, and after that you have 12 hours that you're off. But in those 12 hours, in my case, I end up like really tired, so I just want to eat and go to sleep, and then the next day it's the same, and it's the same day after day. And is that I believe that it's not made for everyone.
But I think the most challenging thing about this, it's not the conditions, the physical conditions it's more like the psychological environment of all this, because it's a stressful environment, and you're there alone. The only person that you can count on is yourself, and you need to be tough mentally to endure this kind of job, let's say like that, because it's easy to talk about it, and people make a good picture out of it, but there's a lot of psychological struggles during the stay. How to say it? Because sometimes you are in boats that you can only call family 1 hour per week, let's say like that, and the internet connection is not that good. You cannot do WhatsApp calls or anything like that. So whatever you have online, forget about it when you get there to these boats. You don't know what you're gonna get sometimes. So yeah, we don't have holidays, we don't have days off, we don't have weekends. Once you're in the boat, you are working till you leave the boat.
Okay, wow.
And I'm very lucky, very, very lucky that I never get seasickness. So I'm one of those, I don't know, blessed ones that even if we have 10-meter waves or 7-meter waves, I don't get seasickness. I don't particularly enjoy it, but it's like, well, it's our job. You have good days and bad days, and when you have a storm, you have to deal with it. But some of my friends, they get like really bad with seasickness, and some take 2 to 3 days to adapt and then they're fine, and others that the continuous movement makes them sick, so they have to wear all these patches and all these take all these tablets to avoid that feeling. And I admire them because you are working on something that you know you're struggling a lot and you're feeling physically bad, and you still go outside. Like, awesome. I don't know if I would be able to do it, but I think I admire these people that they like this so much that they go even if they get seasickness for an entire month. It's incredible.
And for instance, when you are working as a PAM operator, is 12 hours listening to the sound? Don't you get tired?
Again, some people portrait it like that, but no one can be 12 hours in a row listening to that because it damages your ears. So that's one thing that people struggle with, is actually to have PAM operators to do breaks, because we go there, there's this contract of 12 hours non-stop of acoustic data, and how are you going to do that when you're just one person and you need breaks? You need to take your headphones off for just to listen to normal things. That's why I started to use this phone conduction headphones, which works like a charm and it improves your the ear environment, let's say like that. Because at the end of the day, we need our ears to work with our ears and eyes, because it's very important as well to be able to read properly the data, not only listen to it. So these are the very important things that you need to take care of, is your ears and your eyes, because those are our main tools.
What other kind of equipment do you use to do your job?
So to do my job as an observer, what I use is basically binoculars and my eyes. These are my main tools. And if anyone is listening to this or reading this, please take a lot of care with your eyes. Wear sunglasses, protect them, and eat well so that you can have a very good sight for years and years to come. And another thing that I would say is that because we have to watch to the sea for so many hours, take rest, because visual fatigue is real, and it can make you lose animals that are around and you don't see them because you're so tired, your vision all blurry. So that's one of the things that I always say in every job, and is that is protect your eyes as much as you can, because this is your tool. You can have your glasses, you can have your binoculars, whatever, but if you don't see well, you're going to struggle to search for the animals. Tell me?
No, I was going to ask you, how do you take care of your eyes?
One thing is that I have very good sunglasses, and the lens that I have is polarized, and it's a good one. It's not the cheap one. It's a very good one. Then is also the diet. I eat a lot of carrots and tomatoes, so that's really good for your eyes. And if you're looking to the ocean in very bright environments, every now and then, I would say like maybe every 10 minutes or not much more, I close my eyes for a few seconds, just like to give it a rest, and then search again, and then give it a rest and search again. Because if you are pointing your eyes with all that reflection, with all those waves moving constantly, your vision is constantly working. And it's like if you are in the gym like 24 hours, you can't be, you need periods of rest. And these little breaks, for me, they work. And also what I do is, not when I'm offshore because I really don't have time over there, but when I'm on land, when I'm home, I try to do exercises with my vision, like going up and down, side to side, do rounds and exercise your eyes, because at the end it's another muscle. You have muscles over there and they need to be trained. And another one is that I personally don't like, for example, is when we are required to watch continuously and there are not so many people in the team and you have to be there for hours and hours and hours. The important thing is the breaks. You need to have breaks. And my recommendation would be that no observer should watch out for animals in the ocean for more than 2 hours. There's countries that ask, like, the maximums are 4 hours, but in my case, if I have to be 4 hours watching outside all the time, by the end of the day I have headaches, because I put a lot of effort checking every wave. So yeah, my maximum, I would say it's 2 hours.
Wow, I didn't imagine it was so hard.
Yeah, it is. If you want to do it well, it is.
Yeah. Wow, it's and thank you for the tips about how to take care of the eyes.
Our environment is moving, and when it's moving, your eyes, even if you don't realize, they are focusing all the time, like far and close, far and close, far and close. And this is what, at least to me, makes me like really tired of the eyes. And many times when I've been working offshore in the vessels, people don't get it because they say, "Oh, you're just looking outside." Well, let's say I'm looking outside, but I'm putting a lot of effort trying to find that needle in a stayhake. So, it's a lot of effort that you're putting. It's not just looking outside. It's not like we are with the binoculars all the time, like continuously. Like, you scan the ocean, get the binos if you see something that it's moving on the water, and then stop. Or maybe you are with the binos for 10 minutes and then put it down and, I don't know, like, relax the eyes. Everyone has its own tricks, but is that the important thing is that you don't get tired with your eyes, like you don't get that visual fatigue.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of the equipment that you told us that you used to use?
That's a good question, because being a gadget guy, I take a lot of things with me. Because if you go on a helicopter ride or something like that, you're very limited.
Ah, okay. Okay, I didn't know that.
And it's quite common for us in the North Sea to go on helicopter trips. So again, it's very limited in those cases. And you always want your luggage to be close to you because it's very, very expensive gear. The best, I have to say, the best companies to work with. Because at the end of the day, the hydrophone technology is the same throughout all the companies. It's just a matter of how they set up the equipment and how reliable it is their setup, basically. If they put top of the end computers and hardware, yes, it's good. It's a good company to work with. It's a good gear to work with. Sometimes there's companies that don't invest that much on the setups, and then it's hard to work, and you need more redundancy of the material of the gear in order to do the job continuously with no interruptions.
And do you use another equipment to do the job, or?
Yes, I have my binoculars, and this is also a piece of equipment that it's very particular to to the person, because the brand, the type of lighting that it has inside, coatings or whatever. My binoculars are made for the marine environment, and inside they have reticules, is what we call reticle binoculars, and with that I can measure distances ahead of us. Yes, there's a big formula after to put that, but with that is what we use to estimate distances to the animals. Then other observers, for example, use what it's called a range stick, that it's a piece of wood or a ruler, and it's particular to you. You have your measurements with eye height and your arm length, and then from that you can also get estimates. However, I'm not very fond of using these methods, because by the time, if you see imagine you're with your binoculars or with the naked eye, but whatever, you have your binoculars and you see a whale in the distance, you don't have to put anything down, get the stick and get the estimation of the distance. With the binoculars, you just stack there, don't move, and from when the whale comes up again, you can have that distance at the same immediately. Some people argue that when animals are very close to the vessel, this method, the method with the binoculars, doesn't work, because there's not all these marks in the binocular. If that is the case, what I do is use the mostly my practice. I was going to say another thing, but it's mostly my practice, because to estimate distances, you have these methods: the range stick, the binoculars, or your eyes. Again, so every time that I'm on a vessel, I have to ask or calculate the height above the sea level, and then the height of my eyes. Then I have an exact measure of the total height up to my eyes. Okay? If I see a buoy, another vessel, or another thing that is floating around us, I go to the radar and ask for the exact distance from our vessel to that other object on the water. Okay. And this way, I train my eyes to think, okay, this is 1,000 meters, this is 2,000 meters, this is 1 mile. And if I see an animal in those ranges, I roughly know what is the distance to it. If I have to be quick, if I can do it with the binos, that's fine, because the formulas that we have for the binos are quite accurate. Like the errors, there's always going to be an error because it is an estimate, but they can be quite reliable. And is that if you have an animal that it's 100 meters away, it's going to be already right close to you. So in that case, there's no range stick or binoculars that you need. You just need to figure out what's the lateral distance for all in front of you. You need to have practice. And this is something that many people don't do again. And is that the first thing that you have to do when you get to a vessel is get that high and start practicing with the radar and ask the people from the bridge about these distances with big vessels, with small vessels, because the perspective change a lot, and you need to practice this in order to be quick. Because if you have a whale like right next to you, you have to say, okay, this one is 100 meters or 1,000 meters. It depends on the project that you're in. But I think that's one of the things that we need to be as observers is quick in these estimates. You can't, like, these are wild animals. They're not going to stop for you, and the vessel is not going to stop for you to know what is the distance to the animal. So you have to be very quick with that. And whatever method you use, you need to have a lot of practice in that. When you're on a vessel, one step ahead of you, it's just a distance. But the further away you go, the distance, like vertical distance, are smaller, But the truth is that in the horizontal, they are larger. And that is just physics. So a very, like 1 millimeter in your binoculars or in the range stick can be 1,000 meters in the horizontal. So that is really, really tricky. And as you say, engineers can say, okay, this is 1 meter because they've seen it so many times. And I think that observers need to do that as well. Like, okay, from this platform, I know that up to here, around me, it's 1,000 meters. So yeah, it's tricky because in the ocean you don't have any reference. You know, you don't have any reference. There's an entire mass of water around you and nothing else. And you have the weight. You have to account for that as well because the vessel is moving and your environment is moving as well. So
and the waves are not exactly the same. Yeah. So you sometimes are bigger and smaller. So there's no point of reference.
Ideal conditions is when it's completely flat and the vessel is just moving, but those are not very common. So I wish. But yeah, when you do acoustics, you are provided with that hydrophone. Like there's these companies hiring their hydrophones, but you don't bring your own. Like when you're a marine mammal observer, you can bring your own camera, your own binoculars, whatever. But the hydrophones are fixed. It's not. It's very expensive equipment, so it's nothing, and it weighs a lot, so it's nothing that you can carry from home. And is that depending with the hydrophones? You need some help from maybe from the marine crew or the surveyors, that the geologists that deploy their equipment, because you are monitoring the activity, but you cannot interfere with the activity. So it's kind of like just leaving the hydrophone over there, just listening, but you have to be very careful that your hydrophone does not entangle with anything that they are towing or anything that they are having on the back. Okay. So that is, you always have to coordinate with them, like to avoid this kind of entanglements, because then it's losing time of production. You need to stop, retrieve, disentangle, and deploy again, and that means a lot of time. Everything when you're at sea takes its time. It's not as fast as something that we can do on land, because the boat needs to keep moving. If you stop, there's a risk that all the cables just go down, and there's a risk of entanglement to the propellers or the thrusters. So you have to be really careful with that.
Something that is interesting for me, does the propeller, I heard they make a lot of noise. Does it interfere with the recording of the hydrophone?
It does, because usually the best approach would be to have the hydrophone located in a place that doesn't have a lot of noise from the vessel. However, you cannot deploy 500 meters of cable outside because of logistical reasons and because of this risk of entanglements. So usually it's between 150 to 100 meters, sometimes it'll be more, but that's kind of the maximums. That means that we get a lot of noise from the vessels, the propellers and the thrusters, and that is very important because it can mask the lower frequencies. And taking into account that whales don't vocalize that much, you have a big chance to lose whale vocalizations.
Wow.
In the case of the dolphins, their vocalizations are a bit higher, so it's kind of easy. You can hear them and you can see them on the spectrogram. But for whales, I can say that I think in my 8 years offshore for the industry, I only detected whales maybe a couple of times.
Okay.
It's very complicated to detect whales from offshore vessels, and is that mainly because you get a lot of noise from the engines, from the vessels, and sometimes these hydrophones are like, they can catch so much that even if there's like a bang or something on the back deck, we can hear it. Like,
Oh.
I was in a vessel, for example, where I was really close to the back deck, and the hydrophone was 200 meters away from the vessel, and yet I could hear everything that was going on my back deck, and it was 10 meters away from me, but I was with my hydrophones locked in a room, but I could hear from the hydrophone that they were doing some noises in the back deck, and chains and boxes falling and everything, and I could hear that from the hydrophone, not only from what I had on my back, but from the hydrophone, because I could see it on the spectrogram. So yeah, in doing PAM offshore, I think it's a big challenge. It's a really big challenge, because it's difficult to search for animals unless they are really close and they are vocalizing a lot. Sometimes you just detect like a very quick vocalization, and that involves a lot of practice and having seen that before. Because if you have dolphins passing, I don't know, 2,000 meters away from you, sometimes you can catch a vocalization. And is that little piece that makes you have to be aware to say, okay, there's dolphins around, so I have to check that really good, what comes up in the spectrogram. And it's a big challenge. It depends on the number of hydrophones that you have and the number of channels. So if you have 2 or more, we can do these estimates on the distances, but we never know which side are we listening from. We know that it's only one distance. Okay. Usually, the PAM system is used at night or in periods of time where the observers from the visual cannot see outside, but it's mainly at night that it's used, or foggy times, or like really bad weather. And in those cases, you have to add, for example, if you have bad weather or a storm, you have to add all the noise from the waves, from the wind, from the foam that it forms, and you're sitting there thinking, I'm not going to detect anything, and then all of a sudden you have dolphins, and it's like, oh yeah, well, they're here. So yeah, you never know. And I think that it's kind of fun in a way, because you never know what's going to happen. So every day it's an adventure.
It's very challenging. Oh my God.
It is. It's not as straightforward. Like, no, nothing is.
Imagine it was so complicated, because I read a little bit about it and I thought, oh, it's quite relaxing.
Yeah. Is that people think that we are with the hydrophones over there and sitting like this?
And because the sound of the ocean is so nice and so relaxing, I thought, oh my God, that job sounds quite nice.
Yeah. No, but is that, and depending on some of the vessels, that they are very noisy, you have to like erase that noise somehow, because it's killing you. And in seismic, for example, where you have these big shotguns, you need to put a protector, because it's so loud that it can it can damage your hearing. So you also there's an option where the program just deletes that noise before you hear it. So there's this very little delay, so that the program have time to like mute that shot and then continue, because otherwise you would get like completely mad. It's madness listening to that all the time. Imagine for hours just listening to seismic. It's like like this every, I don't know, 15 seconds or whatever. Yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Sounds like the ideal equipment is something that cancels all those kind of noises.
So in this program is that there's an option where you can silence these few seconds of the shot. In this way, if you're listening, you don't get that super high amplitude like in a second, because it can damage. If you have your sound very high, it can damage your hearing.
And when you work, you have to stay. You said you go to a separate room, no?
No, sometimes it's a room. Sometimes it's with the surveyors. You have them there next to you because you're in the room. And sometimes I've been in containers in the back deck and just all the equipment inside the container, and you have to be there. And it's not acoustically isolated. It's just a container, and you have your equipment there, and go listen.
And also the noise of the chips. Oh my God! Like the outside noise.
Yeah, you hear everything. You hear everything.
Oh my God, that's a hit.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is the worst scenario.
Okay.
The last vessels that I've been in, yeah, we had like a nice kind of office. Mm-hmm. So in one of the last ones, I was directly with, like, super close to the surveyors. So it was like a small room, and the surveyors there. So it was that was very nice. That was very nice. But is that sometimes you need to? They have these setups and you have to deal with that.
The most important thing of all this is like the people that you meet and in these offshore environments, and you make friends with, and then you have adventures after. And actually, one of the stories was after the project, actually, when we went all together in a safari, basically. That was an adventure. That was a big adventure, I have to say. From roadblock till almost being the car almost being hit by a raging elephant. Everything happened in that trip, basically. Car breaking down in the middle of this desert.
Wow.
Where in the world you're working? I work from the Arctic to the almost Antarctic, so you have a variety of environments, a variety of bad conditions as well. One of the worst seas that I was ever working in was the Tasman Sea. That was really bad. And amazingly as well, in the Arctic, whenever we had good weather, it was completely foggy, so you couldn't enjoy it when you had good weather, because it was foggy, you know. And the Arctic was a very, very nice place to work in. Amazing stories from be able to see polar bears just swimming in front.
Oh, really?
So, and there was a vessel that once just put his head through the porthole in the galley, and the galley staff just started to run off from the kitchen, from the galley, and yeah, it was a polar bear sticking his head on the porthole.
And you said you had a really bad weather in
the Tasman Sea.
And
Tasman Sea. Yeah.
And what happened?
Sea. It was short but very intense waves, let's say like that. Short period waves with 5 to 6 meters height. And I was stuck in a 20-meter aluminium hull boat that I wasn't able to sleep for 5 days in a row.
Oh my God!
And, yes, whenever that happens, and in those conditions and that kind of boat, you need to sleep in a Superman position. That's what we call the Superman positions. Basically, you need to put your hands against the bulkhead in front of you, and then the feet also against the bulkhead behind you, and then you have to put life jackets around you so you don't roll, basically. And then that particular time I had to sleep with the life vest on for 5 days, because you never know what happens. You need to be prepared for anything.
Oh my God. It's the first time I hear about that. It's crazy.
Yes, there's some again, like I said, there's good conditions and bad conditions.
Okay.
And actually, it was that boat. It was bad conditions in a way to work with, but the people that I was working with made it one of the best conditions so far as well in terms of environment. Of staff environment. Very good. This was in New Zealand, and when it was with the crew was Kiwis, basically, like nice people, fishermen and surfers from New Zealand. So it was really good vibe boat, let's say like that.
Okay.
They forgot to reserve the supplies, so they had to ask permission from the New Zealand Conservation Department for us to fish in a protected area to do the sustainable fishing for subsistence, basically. And I have to tell you, it was one of the best projects because the quality of the fish we were eating was amazing.
Wow, sounds cool. And it was fun. I have to go and fish there, no?
It was amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
It was amazing. And it's like you go to these environments that are almost pristine, and you're able to do a thing like this, and you can see how things are when the ecosystem and everything is balanced. So you just drop the fishing line, and in a matter of seconds, minutes. If minutes is already too long because you just drop it and you take some fish. You actually have to put more weight in the fishing line for it to sink faster so you can get bigger fish.
Really? Wow, yes. That's incredible. That sounds cool. Sounds really
very good. Very good. I learned a lot with these guys. Exactly. And this comes to one of the things that one of the best things about the job is the knowledge that you get from everybody around you, all the new things that you learn.
Yes, that's nice. And also you travel around the world. I thought you were specialized in an area, probably.
No, it's all around the world. All around the world. I already forgot the countries that I worked in. I was the other day trying to recall, and some of them I forgot. I had to go to the pictures that I was selecting for our interview, and I have been there. Amazing! I forgot about it. Let me go through the folder to revive those moments, and it's actually a good opportunity for me to revive all those moments and all those places that I've been. Like Sri Lanka, like Oman as well. I did not know that Oman was such an amazing place for humpbacks. There's this closed community, their population, let's say like that, of humpbacks that they don't migrate, they stay there, and they're quite peculiar. And again, thanks to me having the proper tools for the job, we were able to identify 13 more individuals to this closed population there, which again, it was very rewarding for me to do that.
We have to think that we are doing this job because is that the amount of noise that these activities do is very disturbing to the animals. they are in their environment. They communicate mainly by these sounds. Sound travels a lot more in the water, and we are constantly putting all this noise. So I think that the least we can do is to make their lives a little bit better, because at the end of the day, we need the energy to do everything that we do, being from oil and gas or being from renewables. I prefer renewables, but these noises, I think that it's something that, even if we don't agree or don't like it, it's something that we need. We all want internet, we all want telecoms, we all want nice ports and better infrastructure. So this is a damage that needs to be done. Okay, but at least I think we need to be sure to make it as less impactful as possible to the marine fauna that it's already there.
From your experience, what recommendations will you give to a person who wants to dedicate to this profession?
Invest in the tools, invest in getting knowledge. That's the biggest advice that I can give. Excel is an amazing tool, and people should really be proficient to work with Excel when it comes to this MMO and PAM, because for me it's one of the best tools that we have. Proper set of headphones and good camera with a big lens. Those small lenses, it's not good for our business. And good set of binoculars, quality ones, because at the end of the day, I learned in offshore, if you buy cheap, you buy twice. So better straight away to invest in something good, because when it comes to later in your job, you're gonna invest more in some proper tools for the job, and then you end up spending more than what you planned. So straight away invest in some good tools and some good education for yourself, and you're good to go, basically.
And when you say that you have to study more to know more about your job, what do you recommend to focus on?
When you go to an area, try to do a review of all the papers done in that area, so you know what kind of species you're getting, and like that you also do your homework for the project straight away, instead of just getting there and starting to do things. You can do things in advance. That applies as well from PAM operators as well. And just practice, basically. And MMO, it's basically to estimate the ranges and also to identify the species. Nevertheless, it's more important to identify that there's an animal there than to identify the species. First of all, because you need to be able to distinguish if that's an animal that you're going to mitigate for or if it's not. Because different countries have different rules, so you might do a shutdown for a sea turtle, and others you don't do a shutdown for a sea turtle. And then to be able to distinguish for a protected species or not protected species. That's the most important thing in my point of view as well. And in terms of PAM operator, that is more technical job than MMO. So you need to get a good grips with the gear, know how to repair hydrophones, know how to repair everything. Basically, it's to be a bit of a jack of all trades.
Okay. When you work with hydrophones, do you have, for instance, to calibrate them, or they work perfectly for the 3 months?
You need to calibrate them because as well you get different readings inside in every place. Let's say the sound velocity is different, so you need that to calibrate as well. All the calculations that are done for estimating the distances and so on. So yes, you need to calibrate those things. Depth sensors as well. There's several things that you have to calibrate, let's say like that. Okay. But the most important thing is to calibrate yourself.
Yeah. But yes, okay. But How frequently do you perform that calibration?
Depends if you're changing to a completely different site, but you don't often do that because many times if you do a proper deployment rig, you just leave your gear out there and you don't need to pick up. But if you need to pick up, for example, this applies mainly to PAM operators and to PAM gear. But if you're recovering many times your gear, so yes, every time before dropping into the water, you need to tap test it, you need to calibrate it, to do all these things that are crucial before you actually deploy it, because then you know it's working properly. And this can be done, for example, I did in a project that I did more than 40 times in 2 weeks, let's say like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future, as I've mentioned, I had a serious accident and I need to adapt myself. So I might not be able to go back offshore, even though I really liked. I might turn into advising and passing my knowledge to other people that are willing to improve their skills or they want to improve their skills. And ingress again in or start the PhD, start my own research, and go from there, because then I'll know my path. It's like that. You have to start to do these things in order to know what you're gonna do in the future. So my plans now for the future is to get better and be active. That's it. Be active. If I need to start my own research with no funds, then I shall do it. So yeah, basically, and at the moment I'm just looking for someone to provide me a set of hydrophones so I can start showing the world that here in my place we have really interesting stuff like sperm whales that people never thought about it. And a year ago, I on my own with my boat, I went there, and yes, they are there. So at the moment, I'm just trying to see where can I grab a set of hydrophones for as simple as they are, so I can start doing something.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you again, and it was really nice to meet you. I hope you get well soon, and let's see what happens in the future. I think good things are coming, so let's wait.
Only good things are coming. Only good things are coming. There's so many good things now happening to me that I don't know how to end them.
That's great to hear.
But is that there's a lot more behind it, because it's very difficult to spot an animal in the middle of the ocean that doesn't want to be seen. We know that they have to go out and breathe, but sometimes I can tell you, I've lost whales in a very flat, calm sea because they went diving and you don't see them again. And it's like, let's see, I have the biggest animal on earth around. Where did it go? And you don't know, because they disappear. And the vessel is moving, and even with the binoculars or whatever, if they don't want to be seen, you won't see them. And maybe you're looking on one side and they appear on the other one. And if you are alone, if you're observer alone, there's a big chance that you can miss animals. And that is one of my biggest fears sometimes. Because if you are in teams, if you have another person, you both have like 180 degrees so that you can cover all the area. But if you are alone, you have to go around all the time checking. In my case, is that I get this thing with the eyes because I check every wave, every different wave, and I say, hey, maybe there's something here. that can be an animal. And is that people have the idea that we just look for the whales jumping over there like this, and no, my friend, I wish, but it's not like that. It's not like that. And because these vessels do so much noise, as I told you, they usually like kind of move away, so you don't see them as well as in a whale watching trip where you go there, just relax, put the engines in neutral, and just observe the whales. Usually whales like move away from you, so it's a bit frustrating sometimes. And I think you have to really like what you do to get to do this job properly.
I didn't imagine you were having so many challenges. As I told you, I thought more like a touristic version of the job.
After some jobs, I'm like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go back to whale watching and enjoy the animals, just being around and enjoying them. But I always go back. I like it, but yeah, it's way different than people sometimes think, and it doesn't help that many people post incredible pictures on LinkedIn, for example, and it's like, that's not the reality. Like, maybe you have every now and then a whale approaching, or you can have a nice weather and animals around, but I do a lot of nature photography, and I can tell you that my pictures from offshore, 98% of them are rubbish, are just water and out of focus and really bad pictures. And it's extremely frustrating, because then I see on LinkedIn all these people from Brazil with incredible pictures, and it's like, okay, am I going to the wrong places, or what is going on? Because I want to have the chance to take those pictures. And I think is that people are saying, oh, I love my job, and and putting all these pictures, and maybe from the outside is idealizing a lot more and romanticizing a lot more the job. But well, no, in Instagram there's a friend of mine that has a hashtag, I think it's called real sightings or true sightings, and it's like, you have like the crop of the picture, oh nice, a whale, but the truth is that the animal is like small like this and it's all water, you know. So yeah, if I ever do Instagram account, I will put all the tons of pictures that I have that are like what I think could be incredible, and it's just like this tiny fin like this, and it's all water. So yeah. It's not that easy.
Well,
I wish it was more like.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I heard on National Geographic that these guys spend 2 years and have half an hour of a video. So I presume it's very complicated.
You cannot position yourself to take a good picture, because sometimes you have the sun in front of you and the animals are right there. I said, okay, they're close, but then you have all the glare and all the light, and you took the picture, and it's like, okay, this is completely white. Like, even if you modify all the settings, the picture looks terrible. And even if you have one that it seems okay, you say, oh, this is a nice one. You put it on the computer, and it's rubbish, and it's terrible, and it's so frustrating. And it's like, it's out of focus. It's burned from the highlights. I get very frustrated with photography offshore, really, because I like to take pictures of the animals, but damn, it's so complicated.
Oh,
so complicated. God. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you very much for asking for my personal views on this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.